from Parts Unknown. It's Mr. Hartgrave and Grant Fletcher. That's right. If you don't know who Grant Fletcher is, he does a lot of cool stuff. He does comic cons and all different kinds of conventions. We're going to talk about that. We are going to be doing a horror wrestler gimmick tier list, theme song tier list. Wow, that's really specific, and hopefully that's why you clicked on this video. So we're going to get to that just in a second. But however, before we get to that, I want to talk to Grant here. He does stuff on YouTube as well. He's got a podcast out there. You're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You recently put out a podcast and YouTube video, which I'm going to link down below, about building a better Halloween playlist. I'll link that down below. Give us some spoilers, though. What made the top 10? What was so god-awful that it would never make the list? Like, talk to me a little bit about... I'm big into music, and I'm big into Halloween music and horror music, so I'm interested in, like, what your thoughts are on that.
So, yeah, that's good, because, like, it's so funny, because I wanted to do it because, like, if you Google, like, Halloween playlist, you're going to find the same playlist over and over and over again. And like
the Monster Mash, right?
Yeah,
Zombie by the Cranberries.
Yes, yeah. Disturbia by Rihanna. Like, it's all those same songs. Fine. Look, and here's the thing: find songs. It's all fine.
It's all fine. If you're basic, it's fine.
Ghostbusters or whatever, great song. But at the same time, it's like, dude, it's the same. It's the same playlist.
Somebody watching me.
Yeah,
I mean, we know all that. We know all the standard stuff. If you want to have a basic bitch Halloween party, you know the playlist you're going to put together.
Yeah, and it's going to sound, fine. You might every now and then find like Bela Lugosi's Dead by Bauhaus on one of those lists or something like that.
A little bit of a deep, that's considered a deep cut.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for people who were like into that kind of music, not really, but
yeah. For one day a year, I'll tolerate that goth crap.
Yeah, exactly.
We tolerate that goth crap 365 days a year around here.
You can't drop like a skinny puppy on them or anything like that. They're gonna lose their damn minds.
It's too intense. It's too intense.
Yeah. So I was like, like that day, like early, maybe the day before, I sent my co-host a message. I was like, all right, y'all come up with like 5 songs. We're gonna try to build it. I gave them no like primer or let them know anything about anything else we were doing. I was like, just come up with some songs and we'll put them together. So like our top song, I think, ended up being Dracula's Wedding by Outkast. Because, it has got those cool, like, backup vocals and stuff like that or whatever.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like that. The kind of
we came up with just the wildest, most out of left field Halloween party playlist. If you go to that video that you, like you said, you're dropping down below.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm showing it here.
I tagged I pinned a comment with a link to the playlist so you can hear it. It's the most like disjointed, off the wall kind of thing. But I really wanted to. There's a lot of good embarrassing stories on there too, which is fun. But it's just the most off the wall kind of like playlist we put together. But one of the things that like one of my co-host had in the running, Brandon is his name, was this song called Get Your Groove Back, and I can't remember the guy's name, and he described it so much better than I ever could, but it's like some guy who was not a musician and had no idea how music works decided he was going to make an album, and Get Your Groove Back is this song that's somewhere in the middle of the album, and like I listened to it after that episode, and it is the most just disjointed collection of sounds that you've ever heard of in your entire life. Like there's no real rhythm to it. Like there's instruments, but they're all kind of doing something different or whatever. And then he says at the end of the album, there is a secret track, which is just Get Your Groove Back again.
Interesting.
It's not remixed. It's not remastered.
Just
it's not like a demo version or whatever. It's just the same song again at the end of the album. I'm
gonna throw you a deep cut from Mr. Hartgrave here on this one. I'm a big music nerd, and what I'm gonna go with for like most horrifying music, and especially when you start talking about this kind of disjointed sound thing, this is what came to mind. I believe the album is called Tilt by Scott Walker. And it is some of the scariest music I've ever heard in my entire life. If you don't know Scott Walker, he was he was big in England and like kind of back in like I want to say like 70s, 60s, 70s. If you look into his older music, it's all like you probably heard on the radio, you'll hear it on movies and stuff. It was standard stuff that like like the general populace would like. It was very popular music. And then he
Yeah.
came back after a long hiatus from music and started recording this very experimental stuff. And that's what this album is Tilt. And there's some moments of just sheer terror on there. And you can't tell what the sounds are, but if you look into how the album was created, he was like hitting slabs of meat with like mallets and things. And like,
I love that.
there was definitely an attempt to unnerve you about this, the sonic landscape that he was creating there. So yeah, I would pick that, although that was going to bring your party to a dead halt. So maybe you're just better off playing the Monster Mash.
Yeah, look here, you can play the Misfits version of Monster Mash, or I guess Jerry Only if you want to be real,
There you go.
A stickler about it, the Jerry Only version of Monster Mash, if you want to like jazz it up a little bit.
Yeah, if you want to be,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
If you want to be extra but still basic, literally just put on any Misfits album and you're fine. Just you don't have to be. You don't have to dig too hard. You just try a little bit. All right, let's get into these wrestler theme songs. Let's check this out. I'm excited about this. This is an idea I had, and I was like, man, I can't do this one alone. But then you reached out, and I said, all right, yeah, Grant seems like a cool guy. I bet he can help me out with this. You've done some wrestler interviews. You seem into. Are you a big wrestling fan?
I am, yeah.
Excellent.
So another thing I do on the side, we don't have a lot of episodes, or we have some gaps in between our episodes, but I produce a wrestling podcast for one of my best friends, a guy named Joel Gertner, who used to work for ECW back in the day.
Perfect.
And he was a manager and a ring announcer and a color commentator for them. We've had some awesome guests on there. Some of that stuff's on YouTube, but it's all on the pod players. It's called the 69-minute Eargasm with Joel Gertner.
Excellent. I'll link that down below as well. Yeah.
Thanks.
I think he's got a cool interview with Violent J. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he really did. Violent J's pretty cool.
Excellent.
He's pretty dope.
I've got it. Well, not too dope. I'm trying to track him down because I got beef with Violent J. Back when I was a wee lad, I sent him a huge box of wrestling figures, and they said that they were going to hook me up, and they did not hook me up. It was a disaster. I mean, it was like, if I look at the value of it now, I do toy hunt videos on this channel as well, so I know a thing or two about my wrestling figures. And that box of wrestling figures, it was like probably a full run of like the old ones, the little plastic ones that you could like, they had little actions and a ring and everything. Yeah. It's probably a good like $3,000 worth of wrestling figures that I sent ICP, and I really didn't get a return on that investment. So one of these days,
you were supposed to get like some of those jerseys they had.
God knows. God knows. I thought it'd be returned. I thought it would be, but I just kind of want to know if they ever got it, or like if the guy receiving it just like never told him, put it up to the side.
Someone at the Lotus Pad opened up that box and they're like,
I ain't getting this.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing came in, guys. Just like one or a couple figures or whatever. So
yeah, he may have never seen it.
Yeah, we're gonna rap about that one day. All right, let's get into this tier list. Let's check this out. We're gonna start off here. Now, there's some of these wrestlers that I don't know that you might know. I don't actually know these first two. And by the way, I'm not going to play any snippets of any music on this channel because I don't want the copyright issues, guys. So if there are some pauses here as we go, that's us listening to it and then coming back, because I can't put any of that on YouTube. But I would encourage you, if you're not familiar with any of these themes, go Google them as well. Maybe open up an extra window and play along with us if you need to refresh yourself as we go. So the first set of wrestlers that I know here are the Bludgeon Brothers. Are you familiar with that theme, or is that something we got to go check out?
I am. I think it's kind of more, from what I remember, I mean, gosh, I probably haven't heard it since they were together on TV.
It's been a long time. It's been a minute.
But it was kind of more like a rock kind of, maybe not like a sludge sound.
Yeah, I think it's a rock track. All right, let's go refresh our memories. And let's come back and let's rank our first one. First off, for tiers, I think we're good with the standard SABCD tier list. I don't think we need to get weird. Sometimes I get weird with the tier list and I'll give them like wacky names and stuff. But I think we can just kind of basically categorize these out. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to put some subtitles on there as we go. But I think we can just use standard. What do you think?
I think so too. Are we going by just like, are we going by spooky factor, or just how much we like the music or how effective it was?
I think I want to be definitive. I want to not be. I
Okay.
want to be totally, objective here. I don't want to have any personal bias. Just like, is this? We're trying to find the best horror theme should be up in S tier, and anything
Okay.
less below that. And if it's really just dog crap, it's down in D, right?
Uh-huh.
Like if it's really,
Gotcha.
it doesn't even work on any level. Like total failure. And it's going to
Okay.
be hard to kind of break away the music from the entrance. They're like so kind of connected in
I
some of these
know the
instances.
presentation altogether is yeah.
But
you're right.
we'll try to get through it. So our first wrestler is going to be Abyss, and we listened to the theme. Grant, I'm going to let you go first. Where do you think this belongs on the tier list for Abyss? I'm not as I think you're more familiar with Abyss than I am because you were the one who knew who he was. So that's a leg up. I might have to defer to you on this one. What did you think of him? What's about the theme song?
I think Abyss's theme song is a lot like all those other AEW theme songs from the era. I mean, AEW TNA theme songs from that era. Solid, not a classic, but a solid song. I think it's like Dave Oliver or something like that did all those. I think he would be a B tier kind of, it's not A tier.
It's not A
But
tier.
it's not terrible either.
It's not. No, you know what I like? I
Um,
like when the symphonic meets the metal.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Mhm.
It's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, we got to also judge this on some of these gimmicks are more horror than others. And I think that plays into it.
Very true.
How horror is Abyss, would you say?
Oh man, I think Abyss is more. God, it's hard to say because
Is that
it's
what's
like,
keeping it in B tier? Is that what's not elevating it to A tier on this list?
partially because he
keeping it
was
back.
more like it's like he didn't. That was kind of one of the complaints I think a lot of people had about Abyss is that they
Okay.
loved him, but it's like he didn't know whether or not he wanted to be Mankind or the Undertaker,
Okay.
and I think everybody just wanted him to be Abyss. You know what I mean?
While we're on
So-
A, by the way, I need to throw this out. I got to get the elephant in the room out of here. I'm playing a video of Abaddon right here, but Abaddon's not on this list. That's just because I grabbed this tier list from the internet and it didn't have them on there. So I apologize. I believe Abaddon is Abaddon's theme song is definitely approaching S tier though. Like quite honestly, it's a very good theme song. You guys gotta let me, whoever else we're missing, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what tier they should be. I'm very curious about that. Let me know where you would place Abaddon. But yeah, that's kind of one of the measuring sticks. I think Abaddon has a really killer theme song. What do you think of Abaddon's theme songs?
Yeah, I do think Abaddon's really good. I think Abaddon is
It's awesome.
firmly in the A tier, if not straddling A and B.
It's horror. I mean, I like what I like
yeah,
about it.
it
It's
fits
a
the character.
very strong horror vibe. Like if we're talking about horror gimmicks, like that's one of the things I really like about Abaddon is how it's very supernatural. It's not half-assed. It's full-assed.
No.
So Abyss.
It is full. It's whole ass. Yeah.
Yeah, it's whole-assed. So Abyss, maybe a little half-assed on the gimmick. Amazing wrestler. Song, solid B tier. It's got the symphonic, it's got the metal, it's badass, but I agree with B tier on that. All right, next one we have up here is actually Bear Country, and I couldn't tell this was Bear Country from looking at it because they've been in AEW for a minute and they keep switching their gimmicks around. They've been Bear Country with the cages on their head. They've been Bear Country as dressed as bears. Was it a horror gimmick? Is it a comedy gimmick? Right now they're the Iron Savages and they got a mouthpiece who comes out talking about being jacked and juicy and savage sauce. I think they're going to get over with that gimmick. What do you think of the current Bear Country Iron Savages gimmick? Do you think that's going to get over? I almost feel like acclaimed energy from it.
I think they fit this current era
They're
of
getting it.
AEW pretty well.
Coming out saying a bunch of crazy stuff on the microphone is like, I think you know what you're doing. I think you're onto something, guys.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever heard either one of these guys speak before.
No.
So I think putting them with a mouthpiece is your best bet. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes you got to, especially with a tag team too, so I think, Iron Savage is a pretty solid gimmick for them. I'd like to see a little bit more of it before I really.
But we're talking
come down on
about
it, but
yeah. I want to see it develop.
yeah,
I'm very
exactly.
curious about it. I'm very curious.
But
about
I'm not opposed to seeing them do more of what they're currently doing.
Yeah, I think it's great. But we're going back to Bear Country now. Now, I don't know if this counts as horror, and that's kind of one of the problems with it. I actually like the theme song quite a bit. I hadn't heard it in a minute. I don't know if I ever heard it properly. When I listened to it, it was actually giving me Pig vibes, which is another great band to put on your Halloween playlist, guys. Pig has Sensation, has some of the scariest music ever put to disc, and pretty awesome as well. Do you know about Pig?
I don't think I know a lot of Pig's work. I mean,
deep cuts here. I'm sure you know of Cam FDM.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's worked with Cam FDM. It's Raymond Watts, and he has a main project. I think his main project is Pig. His side project is Cam FDM. Who knows? These guys are crazy. There's like 1,000 of them. But it kind of gave me Pig vibes, which is interesting because it's got the symphonic metal, but also like some industrial vibes to it. But it's also kind of silly and stupid. So is it B tier or is it C tier? What do you think?
Yeah, it's not A. Like you said, it gets a little nasty towards the middle, which is kind of cool, kind of dope.
They do have cages on their heads.
They do have cages on. It's kind of like body horror in a way, I guess, if you think about the masks and that sort of regard.
Kind of sounds like body horror, yeah.
Like just squishing a cage around your face. So I think in that regard, yeah. Is it horror? Not really.
I don't know. But
it's a good song. It's not a bad song.
I think we got to put them in C tier because it's just not horror enough.
No, it's
the gimmick's not horror enough.
But it's also not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not D.
And it's got some elements. Like I see how they made it on here. Like it's kind of a freaky sounding song. It's got some like I said, it made me think of Pig, and Pig's kind of scares the hell out of me. That guy's pretty intense. So I'm feeling it. All right. Next up is the Bludgeon Brothers, and I got to apologize. This is during my hiatus from wrestling. I took a break from like the late 90s until like right now, like the 2020s, where I didn't watch wrestling. So I missed a lot of this stuff. I've went back and watched some of it, but I'm not familiar with the Bludgeon Brothers. I do know the guys in it. I know Eric Rowan. I know Luke Harper. I know those guys. Where are we putting this at as far as their theme song goes? We went and listened to it.
WWE was not making bad themes at this point in time, but they were not doing their best work.
There was a drop off. This is one of the reasons why I stopped watching. The theme music kind of fell off.
I think Jim Johnson was just ready to retire. Yeah. And I don't even know if he did this theme, to be honest with you.
I don't know where this one comes from.
But I don't know either. But so it's not terrible. It's just fine.
It's a badass song. It's a badass song.
It's a good song.
But the question is, does it invoke horror? It
has kind of like that weird sort of ominous, starting off.
Yeah.
But once you get into it, I don't really know.
It's just kind of.
I don't even know if I even read horror off of their characters.
Yeah,
they were dark.
Are the Bludgeon Brothers horror? I mean, I know the Wyatt family was horror as fuck. I mean, we're going to get to that.
No. I think that's, and we will get there.
It's like, are they on here just because of their association with, the Wyatt family? Is that why they're here at all? Like,
that's probably the case.
I think so.
Like I said, they're dark, but Batman's dark. Batman's not a horror character. You know what I mean? So like,
I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see. It's not. I think the stuff that goes into D is going to be like not horror and not badass. I think if you're not horror but you're badass, you're going in C. I first found out about the Boogeyman like I think 3 years ago. I was doing another YouTube video where I was talking about like horror wrestling and stuff. I usually make a horror wrestling video like every Halloween because I just love this stuff. The Boogeyman's a part of that hiatus where I kind of missed him. But man, as soon as I found out that this guy existed, I was just an instant fan. I was like, this guy is so awesome. If you don't know about the Boogeyman, you need to find out about the Boogeyman. We listened to his theme. I think I know where I'm putting it. Grant, where are you going with the Boogeyman theme?
Yeah, I think it's so good, and the character's so awesome. Good. I think it's A tier. Like, you know who this character is as soon as he comes out. Whenever you hear,
I love the intro that's got the vocal call outs. Boogeyman.
Yeah.
The Boogeyman. Like, it's so good. I want to go S tier with it. Why are we holding it back from S tier? Like what's preventing this from being S tier?
Here's the thing. We can always put it in S tier and move it later depending upon who all winds up in there.
I want it. I have a strong feeling it belongs. I think the Boogeyman in general belongs in S tier. Like
I'm not gonna argue with you against putting him in S tier.
So good. And I love the way he comes out. His entrance is terrifying.
Yeah. He's got worms in his mouth. He smashes a clock on his head.
Awesome.
He's amazing.
Amazing.
Such a great. He was never going to main event WrestleMania.
No,
but what a great character. What a great gimmick. And so much so that they would just bring him back for Halloween for years afterwards, just for that one show. So
there it is. He's a staple of Halloween. I mean, It's S tier stuff. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Does it work every night? Like, no, but is it S tier on the night that it needs to be? Yes. So yeah, we could move it down to A. That's what might get it down to A, is that maybe it doesn't fire off every night. I don't know. I think you bring out the boogeyman and I'm going to shit my pants every time. So I think it's awesome. Next up on here, we have one that we had to disqualify ourselves from. We have like Sarah Logan or Valkyrie. We just don't know enough. I don't know which theme to gravitate towards on that or what kind of opinion to give. Now, the next guy, I think we both know very well. It's Danhausen. Everybody loves that Danhausen. Very nice, very evil. I was just hanging out with him yesterday at Pandora's Box here in New Jersey. And I know you've had him at a convention before. We both love
Danhausen a couple times. He's rad.
Yeah, awesome dude. And he has a variety of different themes. It would be easy to take just his normal theme and kind of place that on here. However, I don't really feel his normal theme is very horrific. I don't think that's the part of the character that I want to put on this list. I want to put Very Evil Danhausen on this list. You remember Very Evil Danhausen. We haven't met Very Evil Danhausen.
No, thankfully I've not met Very Evil Danhausen.
I met Very Nice.
Very Nice Danhausen still like knocks shit over and throws things. So like,
maybe you did meet Very Evil Danhausen.
He's still a wild card, you know what I mean? Yeah. So no, man, it's a blast working with you. Man, you gotta you've got to be able to think on your feet when you work with Danhausen. It's because he's going to take anything you say and run with it, and then you got to be prepared to go in that direction.
It was incredibly enjoyable working with him. That's
awesome.
Highlight of my entire life. Absolutely. Absolutely good stuff. So what theme we're going to be talking about here is the Very Evil theme. If you're not acquainted, it's actually hard to find. It's literally hard, like really hard to find video of his because he only did it once in AEW. I'm going back. I'm watching a lot of Ring of Honor stuff right now. Before that, I was watching a bunch of ECW stuff, which I know you're kind of connected in. I want to talk about that later. Maybe I think we got some ECW guys on this list even. But I'm going back. I'm watching Ring of Honor. Do you know if he pulled out the Very Evil gimmick on Ring of Honor? How deep does your knowledge of Danhausen go?
He wasn't really there for that long.
He hasn't really been any place for very long, right?
No, that's true. Yeah, he wasn't in. I mean, he got snatched up by. Actually, you know what? What probably? Shoot, I'm trying to remember the timeline, and maybe they can correct us. The gravediggers out there,
absolutely,
can tell us in the comments below. I don't remember if Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor just like stopped operations for a minute, and then Tony Khan bought them after that.
Yeah, they had to shut
so I don't know if that's what happened first, and then he got signed by AEW, and then Tony Khan bought them, or if he
was signed by. I don't know I don't know what his status was in Ring of Honor, but he was at a couple pay-per-views and stuff in Ring of Honor before they went shut down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then he was definitely in there, but it wasn't very long, and I don't know if AEW just signed him out of Ring of Honor or if he was there until Ring of Honor folded for that first time, and then he got signed in the interim there before Tony Khan. I don't remember.
But yeah, this is my favorite part about Danhausen is he plays this goofy character, but I get the sense that underneath all that, there truly is a demon. Like it's light. And it's like, oh, he's playing that he's, not a human, and it's all funny and fun and games. And then he came out at Full Gear with a totally different look, a totally different theme song. He actually came to the ring and wrestled like a 8 foot tall, 300-pound wrestler. Yeah. Which I thought was awesome, because that's what they say he is when he walks out, and it's like a goofy thing. Like, oh, he's 8 foot tall and 300 pounds, and he's this little guy. And I think for the first few matches in AEW, he was like jobbing. He was like getting his ass kicked. He's like getting tossed all over the place. He was very weak seeming. But when he came out as Very Evil Danhausen, he comes out with a jar of teeth in one hand, a spike in the other hand, and this epic song playing. Where are we going to rank this theme song?
The
Very Evil Danhausen theme song.
Really good. I think we could easily put it in B, and there's a conversation to be had about maybe putting it in A, because it is a very good song. It's very solid. You can hear all the influences in it. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the creepy intro. I feel like the best part is the beginning, which is, for a wrestling theme, that's all that really needs to be good.
That's what you need.
The first,
you hear some glass
seconds.
break, and then you know what's about to happen. You know what I'm saying?
The wrestling themes never get to play. You get to hear like maybe the first verse of Kingdom. The first verse and chorus is all you ever hear of most of these.
Yeah.
Second verse could be god awful. Who knows?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's true. It could be like a terrible song after that. That's
It's
just
just awful.
got like the worst, whiniest vocals you've ever heard.
Yeah, I think a lot of wrestling themes in the second verse get like really like they just drop off
Yeah,
dramatically in quality.
it's like we know we need a full song because they're gonna put it on a CD or something like that eventually. But like also like we know no one's ever gonna hear the first. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Well, I miss that. I like when they do the full song as opposed to what the WWE was doing for a minute where they just did the first verse and chorus and then it looped and there
yeah.
was no second verse or third verse or bridge or middle eight. Like I like when they make it a real song and then you hear it all together one day and you go, "Wow, it really is just the first like verse and chorus and
Yep.
then it's just crap."
That's how we got Ass Man from by Billy Gunn or Billy
Brilliant.
Gunn's theme song. You know, brilliant song, right?
Love it. Love it. So Danhausen, I mean, look, I'm biased as hell. I love that Danhausen. I want to put it in A, but I see why you're saying B because, like, I feel like it could be better. Like, I just feel like it could be better. Maybe a
I think
remix, maybe
let's just
some differences.
you know what I think. Let's do this. Let's put it in A,
Let's put it
and
in
then we
A.
just see what happens.
We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
But I really like it. You know what? You know why I want to keep? I want to keep it in A because the entrance as a whole was very terrifying watching him come out that way, especially
He comes out with a leather jacket
Yeah.
and everything like that. And
Totally
here's the
different
thing:
look.
whenever he came out with that, you know, the whole new look, I was like, well, that's brilliant
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's got a whole new slate of merchandise that he could sell now.
New merchandise. Yeah,
And then all of a sudden, there were new shirts and new what are the micro brawlers and everything
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, yeah, called it.
yeah, all new stuff. Great merch. He's a merchandising wizard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, brilliant.
he was a genius. He really is.
Absolutely, 100%. So yeah, I want to put it today because the whole presentation. I think it's almost more scary that he's like this light comedy character that can flip a switch
Yeah,
and just come out and throw you around the ring like he's 300 pounds. That is actually kind of terrifying. It's kind of like a Chucky doll effect almost. Like, oh, look at this
Yeah.
little cute guy. Oh shit, why does he have a jar of teeth? Why are the devils singing now? What
and then
fuck
the head
is
spins
going
around,
on?
and then you're like, oh, it's on. isn't
Oh
it?
shit.
All right.
All right. Going on to something very similar. We have the Demon Finn Balor, and we're talking about the Demon Finn Balor. We're not talking about Prince Devitt. We're not talking about straight up Finn. We're talking about the Demon Finn Balor. That song. Where are you going with that guy?
Oh, that's A for me. That's
That's
A
A tier.
at least A tier.
At least.
I mean, it starts with the heartbeat, and
Yeah.
you hear like the strings, kind of like the
It's
strings
a-
kind
it's
of
an
being
awesome
scraped a
theme.
little bit on the guitar, and then it
Yeah.
erupts, and it's this big orchestral kind of sort of sounding thing. It's at least A tier, if not S tier.
I would go S tier. I would go S tier,
Okay.
man,
Do
because
it.
that whole presentation, it's really over the top. Like that's what I want very evil Danhausen to kind of like aspire to. Like I think he's going to
When-
get there. He's very
Oh yeah, when paired
early
with
on.
like the red lighting treatment and the strobing and everything
man.
like that, and the spotlights and
It's
all the other
awesome.
stuff and the body paint. No, it's easily one of the most memorable
It's
wrestling
amazing.
intros of all time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and like you can sing it. I guess that's what
Yeah.
that's what brings it over the Danhausen one is like you can sing Finn Balor's. Like
Mhm.
the melodies are very strong and memorable in that, and that's what kind of pushes it up. I almost want to push the Boogeyman down, but then I'm like worms.
Yeah,
and
no.
it stays. It
No,
stays. I mean, we
man,
can push the Balor like ahead of the.
Let's push him
Boogeyman.
ahead for
Let's Push him
sure.
ahead. You
Yeah.
know, because that presentation is just awful. The only thing I would like take Finn down on is that it's just amazing to the point where I'm not afraid at all. I'm just like, this is the coolest
You're just
shit
in
I've
awe
ever
of it,
seen in
yeah.
my life. But all right, from the best to maybe not the best. Let's talk about Doink. Where
Yeah.
does Doink belong on here? The Doink theme song.
Well, I mean, again, this is kind of from an era of WWE where, or, well, let's be honest, WWF, where I don't know
Yeah.
if they put as much care into every wrestler's music as they could have.
Yeah, I feel
They just
like
said, he's a
this
clown.
is-
Let's just put some clown music out there.
for some
And you know what you're
people.
getting. But clowns are terrifying to some people.
For some people, that's what I was.
I get
That's
that.
where I was going. Like for some people, this is going to be an S. For me, I don't give a shit about clowns
And I
unless they're-
believe that song is called "The Entrance of the Gladiators," if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the actual name of the song,
weird.
which is weird that that's a circus song and that's what it's called. But yeah,
I want to put this in D so hard right now. Are you with me?
Not it's not B. You know
It's
what I
not
mean?
scary.
And the sound effects they put over it too really detract from it as well.
Yeah, it's
I
just
think it
it's
makes the
not.
list because people are afraid of clowns.
I
Clowns
think
aren't really a
so.
thing that I'm
No,
terrified
I
of,
don't
to be
feel
honest
it.
with you.
I think people need to get over it.
Um,
You
yeah,
know,
look, there were some rumors of some stuff that happened in the 80s, I guess, and then they made there was a book and a TV miniseries, and people decided they, you know, um, hated Bozo all of a sudden. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
like,
I don't know
but
what
it
went
was
on
never.
there. I mean, and he's just not that kind of clown either. Like
No,
the
and
whole
actually,
presentation.
from what I remember, I think Bruce Pritchard said on his podcast that Doink's inspiration was not Pennywise, but
No,
actually Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons.
exactly. That's more the
Um,
menace that's more the menace level we're talking about with Doink the
yeah.
Clown. He's kind of a dick and he's gonna kick you in the nuts, but he's not
Yes.
gonna like eat your soul.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree with that. I think.
I'm literally more afraid of Bear Country.
Oh
Literally,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and those
I
guys
mean,
aren't that scary, but
no, but
like
there's some people who just, if you're not into that kind of music, it might make you crap your pants.
it
So hey,
might, it might, it might.
yeah.
So all right, we're gonna put him down in D just because I think there's a lack of effort there. I think if Doink was presented today, we would have something much different if they wanted to present him as a heel. I think, especially if they wanted to make him scary, you could do that now. He's just play an ICP song, man. There's some great ICP songs out there.
There you go.
All right, let's just jump ahead, and for the interest of time, let's jump forward to Ember Moon, or now it's Athena. I don't think Athena is a horror gimmick.
No.
I don't know if Ember Moon was a horror gimmick. It's a great song. Where does it go on the tier list? Do you remember it well enough?
Yeah, I think I remember it pretty well. And like you said, I think was more just kind of like a brooding type of character.
Yeah, not really
But a
horror.
good song. So
I mean,
not
the contacts. She's got the cool contacts.
Yeah, she would have the contacts and in the whole, like you said, presentation.
Yeah,
Before
it was a cool presentation. I honestly like the WWE entrance. I like what she's doing in AEW better. I think it was a good move for her career to go to AEW. But the presentation in WWE and NXT was really, really good. I mean, NXT at that time was like really cool, especially for the women's league with Asuka and Bayley and Ember Moon and everything going on in there was really awesome.
Yeah, I think you could put it in B. I think
B?
I think B is pretty safe.
I like
for
that.
Ember Moons.
I like that. It's just a good song. It's a good song. It does have enough atmosphere. But yeah, I would. It's not horrifying to the extent where it seems like the B tier is kind of like the wishy-washy, like doesn't want to pull the trigger all the way. Like
Right,
Ember
yeah,
Moon,
like it was,
didn't want to pull the trigger all the way. Wasn't really going all the way. I would have liked it more if she just would have went all in supernatural. Like, yeah, I am like a supernatural creature. I'm not a human. But I never got that vibe off of it. I never felt like they went far enough.
Yeah, and she went on that pretty good run, but again, they, I guess, cut her knees out from under her. So
Yeah, it was
what are you gonna
unfortunate. But I'm glad she's doing good in AEW. I really like this stuff with Billy Starks, the Minion thing. Have you been watching Ring of Honor, Honor Club TV?
I've not actually been watching Honor Club TV. What's that?
No one is.
You're like, don't buy it.
No,
I was
it got
actually
really
surprised it was
good.
still a thing.
It got really good. It sucked for the first 10 episodes. I went and watched all of it because I'm an AEW hardcore, right?
Yeah.
And well, I thought they were going to start pumping up Ring of Honor. Here, let me switch over because we got to talk about this for a minute. I haven't been able to talk about this on this channel. And it's been kind of bugging me. So let me just sidetrack us. I started thinking that I should start watching Ring of Honor. Everybody should start watching Ring of Honor because the tag belts are on MJF and Adam Cole. The trios are on Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks, right? We're putting all these Ring of Honor belts on all these big stars, right? And I'm thinking, oh, they got a weekly TV show. These guys might show up. Not once have these guys shown up. Not once will these guys ever show up. Episodes 1 to 10 of Ring of Honor are pretty filler. I mean, it really just feels like Dark and Dark Elevation rolled into one and put on TV. Like it's really kind of that level, which I don't want to discourage because I watched like every episode of Dark and Dark Elevation. I missed it when it was gone. So I like that. Episodes between episodes 10 and 20 were straight fire. Like it was at the point where like, if you watch AEW, I'd be like, dude, you got to go watch this stuff. It's really good. And for that, I would suggest it. But then from episode 20 until the present, it's kind of taken a dip in quality.
Well, who are some of the more like the mainstays on Honor Club right now? Like who are
That
some of the common fixtures?
Yeah, I think that kind of speaks to it as well on who you get. The episodes 10 through 20, you had the likes of like Eddie Kingston showing up. Um,
Okay.
um, Vikingo was there a lot, and
Hmm.
that really elevates it when you have like a lot of Vikingo matches. That really takes it to the next level. You had more AEW guys kind of popping in there from time to time to do matches or spots or take a run at a title. Daniel Garcia was on there. He had an angle for a bit. Like this had a lot of top tier talents, and I think it came from having the show that they were filming it with. It's back. They were filming it with Collision. And when the Collision episode had too many good matches and they would spill over, into Ring of Honor. And those were the best episodes. And they're not
Okay.
really spilling over as much anymore. We're just kind of getting not the same level of quality. And I really thought we would see the likes of, MJF, Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, Adam Hagman with having the belts on there, but they just have been absent. So now those belts are absent too. So now you lack stakes.
And that's the thing is it's so crazy because a lot of the people that made Ring of Honor so awesome in those final days, well, first off, let's just say this: NXT would not exist the way it does today if it weren't for Ring of Honor.
Yeah, they were
Um,
pulling a lot of talent from there.
they pulled a lot of talent from there,
Yeah.
and they really made their show to kind of emulate what Ring of Honor was doing too, because they saw how popular it was getting with a certain segment of the fan base.
Yep.
Now, granted, it's more of a just WWE light product now, but and a lot of those guys though, that was Adam Cole, that
Yeah.
was Roderick Strong, that was the rest of the Kingdom, that was a lot of your guys that the Young Bucks, right? Every
Yeah.
now and then, that are real big on AEW. So it's kind of weird. Like, who else do they build? On that. I think they should put a lot more into Shane Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased. Shane Taylor's a friend of mine. I've
That's a
known
good
Shane
one.
for a long time now. Um,
He was on a lot between those episodes that I was saying,
yeah,
episodes 10, 20, a lot of Shane Taylor. Yeah, it's good.
I knew like whenever they put him up against Samoa Joe, I was like, oh, they're not going to let Shane beat Samoa Joe. Um, even though they should.
Yeah.
But it's Samoa Joe.
Oh
You know
man,
what I mean? Like, what
Dalton
are you going to do?
Castle has an amazing run between episodes 10 and 20, and Dalton Castle is still the best thing on the show. That's why I watch is for Dalton
I'm glad
Castle.
they're keeping him on there
He's
because he really
great.
is like they really could move him over to the AEW
You
roster, but
could.
they really do need like someone like him on that show. But honestly, like my opinion too of Ring of Honor and why Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor
Mhm.
is he didn't. I don't think he bought Ring of Honor um, with the intention of creating this amazing new wrestling brand under the AEW umbrella. I think he bought Ring of Honor because now all of a sudden you've got 20 years worth of a video
Yeah.
library,
Yeah.
and that makes things more appealing when you're trying to sell your streaming rights.
Yeah, yeah, it would be interesting if that comes along. It's great
So,
stuff. I've been watching a lot of it, and that's a great tape library.
oh yeah,
It's
yeah. I
amazing
mean,
stuff.
there's so
Yeah.
much good stuff on there, and they had so many great, awesome like people that came through there that were great that were kind of cast aside or
Yeah, some of their
that ended up
pay-per-views
becoming
are just
great.
like the cards are stacked, like
Yeah,
with like all the stars, like Adam Cole, Kevin Steen, El Generico. Like the cards get just crazy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's wild to go back and see like who was there, who are now like top tier AEW WWE guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I don't know if they really have a plan for Honor Club. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
think
I
they're
don't know.
still
For
just
for
kinda
a
piecing
minute
it together.
there, when I was watching, I was like, "Oh my god, this is like some must see TV. Like this could be on a network." And then it just kind
Mhm.
of went back to that dark elevation kind of level where it's like, "Oh, this is where it belongs." And
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I guess I
I
enjoy
think there's a
watching
lot
it.
of,
I like it.
they could easily use it as a farm club, but
Yeah.
they need to actually commit to it
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for taking that side trip with me. Let's get
for
back to
sure.
the main
Oh,
quest.
anytime. I'll take
Oh,
I'll
little
take a
side
wrestling
quest.
side trip at any time.
All right, let's get back here. Let's talk about Kamala. Do you remember enough of Kamala's theme
God,
to
man,
rank
Kamala
it?
was such a great character
Great
and like a
character.
legend. But like his music is not a thing that actually sticks out in my mind. I feel
Nah, it's
like
just
that
like
was
some
one of the
tribal kind
less.
of sounding music. It's
Yeah,
really
I think that's
downplayed.
easily probably in the doink territory then
We're
because
gonna
I
go
think it's just one
doink.
of those things like here's the character, here's what they look like, so their music sounds like what they
Yeah.
look like. You know?
I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to agree with that. Let's move on to Kane. I'm sure you have some memories of
Oh,
Kane's
A tier
music.
Kane. Kane is
Kane's
A tier.
presentation, A tier. I got to agree with that. I got to agree with that. In fact,
That is mid to late 90s
yeah, it's gold.
WWF at its finest.
I could move it
A
to
tier.
B tier, but I don't want to take the heat from the comments. You know, I don't
I'm
want to.
gonna
I don't want to
say
deal with it. I can't. I can't handle it. It's too hot.
here's what I'm gonna say that'll set off the comments probably for about half the people there is I'm gonna say A tier only for the version without lyrics.
Okay. Okay. I
The
didn't.
version with lyrics probably easily C tier for me. It's the same song,
Ooh.
but you know, I could do without. I don't need the sing Kane. I don't need singing with Kane.
So there's
Kane
like
was
an
nonverbal
asterisk.
during a lot of that time.
There's an asterisk next to Kane.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll leave him an A tier because this channel's too small. I can't take the heat, man. They could end me around here. We listened to Kevin Sullivan's theme, and I kind of wish I hadn't. That was excruciatingly bad. I don't know. How are we going to keep that one from D tier? Do you have any arguments to keep that out of D tier?
There's not a single shred of it that's saving it from D tier.
It might be the worst song I've ever heard.
If you can put it lower than D tier, go ahead and do it. You know, I guess if it makes D tier, it's overachieving already.
If you're not familiar with the theme, definitely go Google that. But don't play it out loud because it has a bunch of sirens. It sounds like the cops or the the firefighters are coming or the ambulance. I don't know what's going on, but it's like constant.
It really does just sound like it sounds. You hear sirens and you think cops, but then you hear the horn and it's like, well, that's a fire truck. And you're like, so I guess the idea is that Kevin Sullivan set a building on fire before his match, and then I don't know. I mean, he was supposed to be like a wild man kind of character, right? So well, maybe
satanic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It definitely I guess gave me chills, but like in all the wrong ways.
Right.
Not good. All right. So we're moving on to Luchasaurus.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if when this theme came in, I think this theme was kind of there before his heel turn, but it's always been kind of, and I don't know how much horror Luchasaurus does kind of scare the shit out of me. That's a big dude. I've seen him live, and that is a very intimidating presence. I like the presentation. I mean, all the fire. I mean, the entrance itself is very well produced, and I can see the horror thing. Is it going to go in B because we're not going far enough? Where are we going with this?
Yeah, I think B is safe because I think the opening of it, when you hear like the roaring and whatever else, is trying to kind of invoke that, that feeling you got when you saw Jurassic Park in the theater for the first time, and how intense that scene was in the Jeep. So I think that is, that was a very thrilling kind of thing. So I think,
it's
with all the rest of the
badass.
elements,
It's badass. It's definitely
like he's a
badass.
dinosaur. I don't associate dinosaurs with horror, but also like it could eat you. So I mean, I think B is pretty safe.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a B tier, and I think for the reasons that the other B tiers are there, it just doesn't go far enough into the horror territory. How about Mankind? You're biased here, man. You did a big thing with Mick Foley, right?
I know. I know. So yeah, you're right. I am biased. I do know Mick. I've worked with Mick a couple times. I'll work with Mick a couple more times, I'm sure. And this is also some of Jim Johnston's best work right there too. So I do think he's easily just S tier because of how.
Wow.
I think so, because of how and also how that worked with the character. How he's supposed to be this piano player that broke his fingers or whatever, and is, I don't know. I really like this theme a lot, and it's also because it's just was one of those things that was such a big part of my childhood too. So
okay, that helps.
Kind of attached to it.
This is kind of like
well,
right
so,
after I stopped watching the Mankind stuff happen. I kind of was paying attention at the time, but I was also kind of out of it, so I don't have like the nostalgia hit from it.
Yeah.
So for me, maybe it'd be a little more A tier. I know once again, small channel, man, I can't take the heat by putting this down in A tier.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. If you besmirch Mick Foley, that's the end of it.
I'm not messing around. Yeah, I'm gonna lose.
And nobody dislikes Mick, man. Everybody loves Mick.
It's all good. So yeah, no, I'm gonna agree. Was Mankind a horror gimmick? The horror.
think, well, I mean, look, he was, his early vignettes, he was in like a dungeon, like
True.
talking to a rat,
True.
and doing the squealing. Oh my God, the squealing that he used to do as well. With
The
that
things
character
that
too.
did
Yeah.
happen to his body were horrifying. The
Yes.
unprotected
Yeah.
chair shots from The Rock were definitely horrifying.
So I would say he was a horror character until he turned babyface, even still wearing like the brown
Okay.
shirt.
Because that's
Because
what I
ended up happening
remember.
was, what's that? Yeah.
That's what I remember. So it was more of a horror gimmick that transformed.
Yeah, and so like,
Came out
and
of it.
whenever he turned, whenever he was a baby face, still with
Okay.
that same costume, he had the same theme, but they like put like a drum beat behind it too, and that one was
Okay.
not great. But it was, I think the idea was
Got
that
you.
like, oh, you're supposed to just get that he's a good guy because we put a drum beat in his music.
Okay,
So,
all right. Well, I hear you, because if we're going to judge Danhausen on his scariest version, then we
Yeah.
have to judge Mick Foley on the scariest Mankind. And
I think so.
Then I'm going
If we're going
to
with
say
that
we're solid S tier on that then, because I'm going to go with that. Sounds good. Next up, we have Dustin Rhodes in his 7 gimmick. Now, he only came out once.
And
So-
I believe the story on this too was that
It's a great story.
he was like, all the vignettes were like he was talking to a kid like through the kid's
Yes,
window
yes.
and things like that or whatever. And it was supposed to be almost this like scary, almost like Nightmare on Elm Street-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then parents were like, it looks like he's trying to like
kind
know,
of a chomo. Yeah.
touch the children.
It's
Yeah.
not right.
And so WCW
coming
was like,
off
all right,
right.
well, that's the end of that gimmick.
Yeah.
Um,
And so
and
he
so
came
comes
out
and like,
and shoots on it.
yeah. So he comes out and shoots on the gimmick, and honestly, it might have just been a work shoot or whatever. But
don't know.
if you've never seen it, it's worth
good.
it. He flies to the ring.
It's so great.
It's good. And then he comes out there and just talks in a southern accent, like not in a character.
Yeah, he does.
But I think as far as like, if we're talking about just the song, right?
just the presentation, just that
Just the
entrance
vignettes.
on that
I think
one
it's
entrance.
It's B tier. I mean,
It's
I think
B tier.
because you hear the spooky Dustin voice,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it has that kind of like
Fear
it
me,
has that
you will.
creepy-
It's also kind of stupid. It's also kind of
Yeah.
dumb.
like you hear the like it's really well, and it's very contrived. Too.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you knew what they were going
forcing
for
it.
100%.
Yeah.
Like they put the creepy like children laughing in it,
And then
And
when
then it
it
kinda
and then when
breaks
it
into
hits,
sort of-
it takes a long time to hit, and then when it
Yeah.
hits, it's like a dance song. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah,
little too
yeah.
funky to be scary.
it's like maybe a song you'd hear in a horror movie, but like during like the chase scene,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like it's not like someone's jumping out at you or they're doing a build up to a jump. So
Yeah.
certainly
There you
not
go.
A tier, but you knew what they were going for. You
Yeah.
feel all the elements there.
Doesn't you know what? It's not a matter of it not going far enough. It's a matter of it maybe not being authentic enough, being a little too contrived, and a little too off the mark, a little hitting the wrong
Yeah.
way. Creepy, but
Yeah.
in all the wrong ways. What do we feel about the Midian theme? Where does that belong in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, Minion was just a guy that they plugged into the Ministry of Darkness,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think his music was pretty much an afterthought.
Yeah, I think so.
It's solid, but it's also not scary
No.
either.
No, not at all.
But there's also nothing that really stands out about it, so that's why I would say it's C tier. Now,
I think
here's the
C.
thing:
I think C.
he actually was a very underappreciated wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they just didn't know what to do with him, so they just gave him whatever theme song they had.
And I think it's time to mention another underappreciated person that is not on this tier list, which we probably already got people who have left comments. Like they just saw who was here and they were already upset. Gangrel, not here.
Oh yeah, weird. Yeah, he's not on this list.
Honestly blew my mind, kind of upset me, but this was the best one I could find and was missing
God, that would be an
Abaddon.
S. I'm just gonna say that's an S tier song.
S tier.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the whole presentation.
Yes,
The whole
yeah,
bit.
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Very awesome. So I'm glad we got to mention it. We didn't forget. They forgot. We didn't forget.
You're right.
All right, let's move on to the Ascension. Who remembers the Ascension? From someone that everyone remembers to someone that maybe not everyone remembers. We got the Ascension here. We heard the theme song. Do you remember the Ascension?
Yeah, and what's weird to me is that they're even on this list because they're not horror characters. I think their whole look and gimmick was supposed to invoke more Road Warriors.
Kind of. I mean, some of the effects. I mean, it depends on it. Maybe the era. I know in NXT when they started, I think it was supposed to scare you. It never scared me though.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, they would like roll their eyes and make poses, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It might
I think
be.
I think it's I think it falls into C
I think
because it is a
C.
good
It's
song,
like a
but
high
it's just
C.
not on theme.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's kind of right there with the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah.
Kind of in all ways. Kind of just not really horror. Is kind of badass, and yeah, kind of they just in general more Road Warrior vibes. Like I don't think they were trying to get direct comparisons, and maybe that's where like the horror tinge kind of came into it
Hmm.
to kind of take it a little away from the Road Warriors, but that was more clearly the homage. All right, something that is probably maybe the most horror gimmick out of all of them. We have the ECW zombie,
Yeah.
but we're talking about horror themes, not wrestlers. Now, I have a hot take about the ECW zombie. I got a hot
Okay.
take on this. I went back, I watched it. I watched the match. I didn't think it was bad.
Hmm.
It wasn't amazing.
No.
It wasn't as offensive. Everyone makes it out to be like this horrible thing that happened. Like they
Yeah.
brought ECW to TV, and the first thing they did was bring out the zombie, and it ruined everything and let you know that ECW didn't fall apart until the pay-per-view. ECW didn't fall apart until that 4-way with CM Punk, where CM Punk was the first one to be eliminated. That's when ECW fell apart. Not
Yeah,
the
everyone was
zombie.
still excited about it. You know, when
Yeah.
Bob Holly sliced his back open, everyone
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my god, like
Was
this is what we
intense.
wanted."
ECW on TV, man, that was crazy stuff. It gave me AEW vibes. It was unhinged. They were putting some nut stuff on TV.
I think so. I think they were having a lot of fun with it, and then eventually they were like, "No, we gotta WWEify this thing." Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think it's
the
you know, it's a horror song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is what it is, and it was for a zombie. I think it's just weird, you know, that in what 2005 or whatever they're gonna bring out a zombie character. That's the
it
whole
was
thing, right?
it was look, it wasn't the best. It wasn't as good as the other stuff happening, but it wasn't like this death nail. I think often it gets mentioned that it was like the death nail, and like
Oh no,
ECW
that
TV
was
should have never happened. I think there was worse stuff on the show. There's better stuff on the show, but there was worse stuff on the show. But
I think they just didn't want it to succeed, to be honest with you. I mean, really.
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I think there was a lot of sabotage. Well, I think there was a difference
yeah.
of what they wanted. Like, Paul Heyman wanted to make the next star. He saw CM Punk as being someone that he could elevate to the main event. He was absolutely right. And Vince McMahon wasn't feeling that. He wanted to bring in Bobby Lashley and have Bobby Lashley carry this new company, which for ECW isn't really the vibe.
No, I mean, there's an argument to be made for Bobby Lashley to carry the torch for something, but it's just not.
That. Maybe not that.
Yeah, not that.
Not
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think
So the zombie theme is garbage. So it's a D theme.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? It's like Doink, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
here's a clown, here's clown music, here's a zombie, here's zombie music.
It was like well, it's not zombie, it's like a funeral. I think it's literally the same music they used when they revealed a coffin for probably an Undertaker match or something. Like it was like some
Probably.
stock music they had around. So there's no thought into it. There's no care into it. It's not scary. The zombie wasn't scary. It was stupid, but that's all it was. It wasn't stupid. It wasn't the death nail. All right, from something incredibly dumb to something incredibly amazing, and we got to talk about them both at the same time. And the question isn't are they B, C, or D. It's whether they're A or S. It's Bray Wyatt. It's The Fiend. Where do these go? I think one goes in S and one goes in A. What do you think? Or do they both go in S? Or
I would agree with you that at least one of them goes in S. I think the original one probably could go into S because it is so ominous and just kind of, it has that whole thing. But again, I'm also probably taking the whole presentation into effect with the rocking chair and everything like that. The Fiend version is just so intense, you know what I mean? It's like they turn the volume up to 11 on it, which can be pretty spooky whenever you hit somebody with that and they're not expecting it.
It's almost like, how you feeling today?
Right.
It's hard. It's difficult.
And again, like it goes back to the whole presentation too. When he comes out and he's got that mask on and the light treatment, and he's got that, whatever version of the lantern he has on there too.
I mean,
like,
I think we just got to put them both up in S. Honestly,
I'm not opposed to that.
And if you want to put one down in A and one of I think it's by the day, by the match, by the circumstance, by the minute. I could definitely swing either way. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes you, sometimes you feel like a lot of industrial kind of sounding music, and sometimes you like the more kind of hillbilly terror kind of sound.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Both
There's
are
like
great.
the like a snake doctor kind of
I mean,
thing,
it's
that's
literally
what
the
it's
same
about.
song, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a
It
different
is.
treatment of the same basic. At least the basic, the middle, the meat of the song is the same, and the stuff around it is the stuff that's different. And even the entrance is kind of similar but different.
Hmm.
Um,
Right. It's like they just
Great
kind of
stuff
take
though.
it and turn it on its head, but it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
Great stuff, and definitely a gem in later day WWE themes. So I think in
Hmm.
general, very very iconic and awesome. And once again, a tragedy that he was taken from us so soon, and we don't get to see
I
more
know.
of that. I said at the time when it happened, I wasn't a guy that had very strong feelings about Bray Wyatt, but my biggest feeling was like, damn, I wanted to see what else he was going to do.
Yeah.
And now we don't get
Yeah.
to, and that's just a horrible tragedy.
He's very
Um,
passionate about what he did, I
yeah,
mean, he wouldn't have put that much creative energy into, his characters, if he wasn't, you know.
yeah.
So it's just a shame
Amazing.
they couldn't figure out what to do with him.
Yeah.
But it's cool that we got
I'm
it.
just so upset that it won't be finished.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to really see where he wanted to go with all that. All right, talking about something a little more uplifting. Let's talk about Vampiro.
Yeah.
Now, I think we both had the same thoughts about Vampiro. We thought something kind of Misfits sounding, but that's not what we heard.
No.
Maybe
Yeah,
our memories. Maybe it's a Mandela effect.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because he was paired with the Misfits, right?
Yes,
And he's also kind of doing like a Misfits kind of gimmick right now in the NWA. I don't know if
absolutely.
you've seen that, but he's got a whole like stable, and they're basically just the Misfits of wrestling.
That's awesome. So yeah, I don't know what it might have been that at some point, but classic Vampiro, WCW Vampiro had something more akin to like a Pearl Jam kind of sound,
Yeah.
which is the best way to describe it. And that I don't know, it's not scary.
No, it's very much a product of that era of rock.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a horror song, and like he wasn't really. I don't really know if he was really a horror character,
I
to
never
be
got
honest
that
with you.
vibe. Yeah,
He was just kind of like cool guy. You
yeah. So
I mean, I like
this is a
Vampiro, but
tough one. Do we put it in B with the people that just never pushed hard enough into their horror element, or is
yeah,
he C where the horror element was never really there, or just really soft pedaled so much?
I think
Where are we going?
given the criteria, C is more appropriate.
C is more
Um,
appropriate.
it's hard because it is a good tune,
It is
but
it for its time. I'm going to say it
yeah,
is
for its
horribly.
time,
It's
it was a
horribly
product of its
dated.
time.
It's
Oh
horribly
yeah, oh
dated.
yeah, absolutely. No, if you heard that now, someone's like, "Oh, here's a cool new song," and you're like,
Yeah,
"Well, I
that
mean,
is not cool.
I don't listen to the Toadies anymore, but you know, but if I heard that in 1996, I'd be like, yeah, that's a jam right there,
And let
man.
us know your favorite Vampiro song down in the comments, because I there's got to be some good themes out there. But I think it was his second theme is what it was billed as, and I just we weren't really feeling that guy.
Yeah.
All right, I got this guy down here now. I don't know this guy too well, but you know him. You have a
So
bit more. What can you tell me?
Waylon
Waylon
Mercy,
Mercy, yeah.
aka Dan Spivey,
Okay.
was Sid's tag team partner. They were the Skyscrapers. And then he came to WWE with this character. Basically, like, you ever seen Cape Fear?
Yeah. Okay, I get what they're going
So
for.
that was basically his character.
People say he's like a
Um,
prototype Bray Wyatt.
so okay, that's interesting because
Yeah.
okay, and I know why people do that, say that, and he did do these really awesome vignettes where like he'd be at a park somewhere, and he's like, cutting a promo, and he's saying things, he's talking, and what he's saying sounds pretty benign and whatever else, but just like, there's some kind of weird darker implication under what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like,
Interesting.
I really seriously, when we're done here, go back and look up some of those old vignettes
I'll
he
have to
did.
do
They're
that. Yeah.
they're cool. So, and it's kind of more like that kind of psychological kind of whatever tinge to it. So I almost feel like his music is meant to be, I don't know, like disarming in such in kind of a
It's just
way,
like a
you know?
piano song.
Yeah, exactly. So like the song is not that spooky, but when you pair it with the character, it's pretty awesome stuff. And the problem was Dan Spivey. I mean, honestly, he was just so far into his career at that point in time that his body was just beat up
Okay.
that it didn't really go very far. I
Interesting.
think his knees were actually the issue there too. So like I
That's a
think you
problem.
could easily put him in B, but only
B tier.
because of the whole presentation. If you're judging it based on the song, it's C, you know.
Yeah, if you're
But
listening to it out of context, but I think we
yeah.
have to apply a bit of context to this stuff, and
So
I think
and
that's fair. Yeah.
I'm gonna say this too about the whole prototype Bray Wyatt thing. Everybody says that, but I would go back and watch promos for this guy called named Bugsy McGraw.
Okay.
And he was a guy who, you know, wrestled Bruno Sammartino and whatever else. And go back and watch that guy's promos, and you're like, holy shit, this is Bray Wyatt like in the early 80s. You know what I mean? Like,
Interesting. Interesting.
so yeah, check out Bugsy McGraw promos for sure, because I feel like that is really the earliest instance of like
That kind of style of
that
character.
style of
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
Which is, I don't know, is it what would you call it? Like deliverance almost? I don't know. It's not even
Oh
like
man, you know,
it's not
it's
even
weird.
like that. Like there's that, but then like he's on this whole like I'm the eater of worlds, kind of Charlie Manson
Yeah,
kind of like.
I would say almost like yeah, backwoods swamp cult leader. You know,
Yeah.
like we said,
Yeah,
Snake Doctor.
cult
You know
leader.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you know, he's got a
God, there's
message.
another one that should be on here. I find the righteous thing pretty creepy.
Oh
The
yeah, for
righteous
sure.
theme
Anything
is
with
pretty
like a
good.
weird religious undertone to it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I don't think the
It's gonna
righteous theme people are given enough credit. I think a lot of
yeah
people like to like they're like, oh, and like it's like Bray Wyatt off a Wish or something like that. But I think there's a
yeah
lot of authenticity to it. I think it's really good. I like the theme song. I like the snapping. I like the way it ends. Which is very much that's probably the biggest Bray Wyatt comparison. That the music just stops,
yeah.
but it's cool.
There's some good work there. Some
I like it.
polyphonic spree vibes almost a
It's
little bit there
nice.
too. You know what I
It's
mean? Like you
nice.
look at it and you're like, there's something off about those guys.
There's something
You
real
know?
off about those guys.
Yeah.
It's unnerving. It's
Can't put
unnerving.
my finger on it, but it's not right
Yeah, I
either.
like it. I like it. All right. And that leads us finally to The Undertaker.
That's
We're going to go right to S. I mean, come on.
first one, yeah, first round draft pick S tier.
Yeah. If you don't put The
theme.
Undertaker in S, I believe I lose my right to talk about wrestling altogether. But I like talking about wrestling. I liked having you here. I like doing the tier list with you. This was a good time. Tell us about what you're doing with Humble Enterprises. Give us the lowdown on this.
God, what am I not doing with Humble Enterprises? We are so we're a company that I say we like I run the show or something like that. I just work for them, but we put on conventions you know, all through the region here in the southeast. You know, we do comic cons, we do horror cons, we do anime
Nice.
cons. We have a wrestling show we're putting on in January. That's going to be really dope. But our next one is on November 18th and 19th. It's called the Preserve Halloween Fest. And so it's kind of like I mean, we do a Halloween convention every year outside of
And
Halloween.
that's in Irving,
You know,
Texas, it says here.
Irving, Texas, yeah, which is
All right,
right
cool.
outside of Dallas. So there's a lot of cool stuff to do around there too. And this show is always fun. We have like or our headline guest this time around is Doug Jones.
Awesome.
Who is you know, he's Abe Sapien in Hellboy, he's Billy
Yep.
Butcherson and Hocus Pocus, so many great characters. He's in Buffy, you know.
He's in
And he
Star
is
Trek Discovery.
yeah, he's
it's
in
a
Star
big
Trek
role.
Discovery too, and he's been in so many things that like people just don't even know.
Yeah,
Like he was
usually
in it.
heavily in makeup, right?
Yeah, usually in makeup.
They love to put makeup on him because he's so tall and lanky and skinny, and they can just build all over him.
And he's so yeah, because he's got the perfect build for it, and he's just so good at like
Yeah.
emoting and playing these characters the way he does. And
Yeah,
he's just
comes through the makeup.
he's so awesome. He's like one of my favorite people to work with.
Awesome.
He's just like like you meet somebody and you're like, oh, that's a special human being. You know what I mean? And that's what Doug is. And we got
Awesome.
some folks there. We got the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus 2 will be there. Caroline Williams, who was Stretch in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 will be there as
Oh,
well.
awesome.
So I'm really excited to work with her. And like the crazy thing about this too is like all the vendors, like, yeah, you see like some of the vendors up there. I don't know why that's not going anywhere, but
Perfect.
they have like, this is the show where if, oh, sorry, and we use the term show and convention interchangeably. So
No,
if I
no,
say show, that's what I mean. But this is the one where like if I leave there with any money, it's a miracle because all the vendors there like have the coolest merch. Oh yeah, Andre Gower, who was the lead in Monster Squad, also,
Nice.
which I don't know. Dude, I love Monster Squad. I watched that movie so much when I was a kid, and it takes place in my hometown too, which is crazy. Katie Featherston from the original Paranormal Activity, which
Very cool.
I think that movie is kind of like a masterclass in how to build anticipation.
That's a solid movie. That's a
Um,
solid movie. It gets made fun of, but I watched it. It scared the hell out of me. It was good.
I think the franchise as a whole kind of fell off, but Laura
First
Park
one's
Lincoln
solid.
is she's like a deep cut in the horror world. She's in
Excellent.
Friday the 13th, Seven, and a few other movies. Count Gordeval, I don't know if you know who he is or not. I feel like he's more of a regional name, but a lot of
Okay,
people
cool.
know him. But he was like a TV horror host. Oh, I say was, still is,
Oh, very cool.
and has done a whole bunch of stuff. But he actually was there last year, and we did karaoke after the fact.
Nice.
And he got up there and started singing Monster Mash, and there were people there that were like, "Oh my God, this is my childhood happening in front of me right now."
Nice.
So
Nice.
that was cool. Ashley Levy, she's a special effects makeup artist.
Okay, awesome.
She's
Got a lot of
she
cool
worked on the
people
Five
here.
Nights at Freddy's movie that just came out, and both Happy Death Day movies.
Very
And then
cool.
yeah, we have here the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus 2,
Very nice.
Taylor Henderson, Juju Brenner, and Nina Kitchen.
All right.
So that's gonna be
Right.
dope. And then Green Devil artwork there. He does a lot of our posters and stuff. His work is amazing.
Very
He's from
cool.
Brazil.
Very cool. Very
And
cool.
then here's our awesome cosplayers and costume contest judges we're gonna have as well.
Okay, cool.
Which
Everybody
is
on it.
cool. And then on the 17th, the night before, are you familiar with the Alamo Draft House at all?
No, I've never been to Texas.
Okay, so it's like a regional chain, yeah, in Texas, but it's like a real dope movie theater chain where like they bring food to your table and drinks and stuff
Okay,
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
as
we've
well.
had places
So
like that. Yeah.
um, and they're real strict on like the whole like no talking or being on your phone kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So on Friday, November 17th, at the Alamo Draft House, which is like right across the parking lot from the convention center where we're going to be doing a screening of this new Nosferatu remake where Doug Jones plays Nosferatu.
Okay, great. Is that
And
the one where it's all on the ship?
I think so. It's basically it's like the director calls it a remix more than a remake, I
Yeah,
guess, because
yeah,
he's like
yeah.
scanned in like the images from the background and like just inserted the actors
Oh no,
into
that might be in
like the
something
scene.
entirely different.
But
Yeah,
this is one
that's
that's not
interesting.
hasn't even actually been released yet.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay.
not
This is a
available. Oh
brand
yeah.
new movie. I have no idea that was
It's like
happening. That's
totally
exciting.
crowdfunded and everything like that. Yeah, like I was like, can I find this somewhere beforehand? And you
Okay,
can't.
that's dope.
And Doug is going to be there. And it's like it's only $10 to get in. So like for $10 you can get into the
Very
movie
cool.
and watch it with Doug Jones, who was in the movie, and then he's going to do a Q&A with us
Well,
after the
do
fact.
that if you're anywhere near any of this stuff. And now, mostly of this stuff is happening in the southern United States. You're doing all your events.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much go as of right now between like that Dallas area over to the Florida Panhandle. So we're in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida.
All right,
But
cool.
we have some other fun stuff coming up too that we haven't announced yet. Like in January, like I said, we have Kayfabe Fest is our 1 day wrestling event.
Very
The
cool.
only official guest that has been announced so far is Ron Simmons.
Very cool.
But I've been talking with him about the list of folks that they're going to be announcing soon, and it is a banger of a list.
Awesome.
And then so during the day, it's like come and meet these legends and like current like wrestling superstars. And then after it's over, we have a wrestling card being put on as well, so there will be
Very cool.
live wrestling there too.
Very cool. So if you live anywhere near any of this stuff, I encourage you to check out their website, attend some of these events. I know they put on amazing events. And do you think you're ever coming over here to the East Coast?
I'd love to. I don't know if that's in the cards. I think we might end up, if I were going to do anything, might end up being like, Midwest before the East Coast. But
Okay.
I don't think the East Coast is off limits. It's just a matter of getting there.
All right. Sounds good.
I
Well,
think the furthest up we did was Memphis last summer. We did Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Jamboree.
nice.
We were in the convention portion of that for him, which was fun.
Very, very
Um,
cool.
Pretty dope. Horror conventions are just cool.
Well, if you ever come out this way or if I come your way, are you open to having vampire YouTubers attend these things?
Oh, absolutely,
All
man.
right. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sounds like a good time to me.
All right. Well, it was a good time having you here, and I'm excited to have you back again someday or meet up with you at a convention, sir. Everybody, make sure you go use the links down below. Check out the Humble Show podcast And if you want more of Grant Fletcher, which I'm sure you do, and Grave Diggers, you want to do it with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Grave Diggers, keep
digging.
Digging.
All right, like, subscribe, and watch another video, or be cursed. And if you're cursed, that means the grave diggers will keep digging your graves. So you probably want to do it.